Pentagon AI contracts just set a new standard for vendors and builders. OpenAI's got a specialized model for critical infrastructure, and we're seeing new ways to slash inference costs. If you're building AI products, these moves mean your platform choices now carry some serious geopolitical weight. Nebius AI briefing brought to you by Proactive AI. Welcome back. I'm your host Vikash, and this is where builders get straightforward AI news without the fluff. First up today, OpenAI just debuted GPT 5.5 Cyber. This isn't a general purpose model, it's purpose built for cybersecurity teams, specifically those protecting critical infrastructure. We heard about this in the New York Times, and right now, access is pretty tightly controlled. It's initially limited to government and critical infrastructure entities, but they've signaled broader access is planned for down the line. What happened here is a move towards highly specialized, domain specific models. For builders, this signals a clear trend. We're moving beyond just massive general models to highly tuned, vertical specific AI. You need to think about how your product can either leverage these specialized models if you can get access, or how you might build your own domain specific variants. Also, the emphasis on critical infrastructure means governance and auditability are going to be paramount. If you're building for regulated sectors, start planning for stringent compliance now, because that's where the market's heading. Next, the Pentagon awarded some major AI contracts for classified networks. This is a big one. The Department of Defense signed agreements with OpenAI, Google, Nvidia, Microsoft, AWS, SpaceX, and Reflection. These deals are for AI at impact level 6-7, which means highly classified mission critical applications. The terms are broad: any lawful use. What's really striking here is who's on the list and who isn't. Anthropic, for example, was notably excluded. For builders, this opens up a massive federal market, but it also raises the bar significantly on what it means to be compliant. We're talking about robust audit trails, strict approval processes, and deep security integrations. Your platform choices are no longer just technical decisions, they now carry geopolitical and procurement implications. If you're eyeing government contracts, understanding these vendor preferences and compliance requirements is absolutely non negotiable. Also on our radar, Nebius just bought Eigen AI for a hefty $643 million. This acquisition is all about cutting inference costs. Eigen AI brings advanced techniques like AWQ, sparse attention, and kernel optimizations to the table. Nebius is integrating these directly into their Token Factory platform, aiming to significantly speed up AI production and improve the unit economics for running large models. So think about that for a second. It's not just about bigger models anymore. It's about making them cheaper and faster to run at scale. For builders, this is huge because it means optimization centric infrastructure can genuinely lower your operational costs and boost throughput without you having to rewrite your core code. It makes advanced architectures like mixture of experts or MOE and other sparse models much more viable and economically attractive in a production environment. This is a signal to really scrutinize your inference costs and look for these kinds of platform level optimizations. And over in the financial sector, the Federal Reserve clarified that their legacy model risk guidance excludes generative and agentic AI. The Fed, along with the OCC and FDIC, specified that their traditional rules for model validation don't apply to these newer AI paradigms. They're actively developing new practices and standards, which is interesting. What happened here is a temporary sigh of relief for fintech builders. This reduces some of the immediate compliance friction. If you're experimenting with generative or agentic AI in financial products, it's not a free pass forever, but it's an explicit signal from regulators that they understand the difference and want to encourage or at least not stifle innovation in the short term. However, it also clearly signals that new, tailored, and likely stringent standards are coming. So while you have a window to experiment, keep an eye on those emerging guidelines. Finally, Sage acquired Eigen AI to accelerate ERP data migrations. Sage, a big player in enterprise resource planning or ERP, is integrating Doyen AI's machine learning powered migration technology across its software suite. The goal is to enable AI powered implementations and significantly shorten the time it takes for businesses to go live with their ERP systems. In plain English, Doyen AI uses machine learning to make the messy, complex process of moving old data into new systems much faster and more reliable. For builders, this acquisition validates the power of vertical AI. This isn't about general AI, it's about applying AI to a very specific, painful business problem: data migration in ERP. It highlights massive opportunities in legacy modernization and hints at future extension opportunities atop these embedded AI migration layers. Think about other industries with complex, dirty data that could benefit from a similar AI powered cleanup and migration approach. Okay, let's dive deeper into one of these stories because it has some profound implications for all of us building in AI. I'm talking about those Pentagon AI contracts and what they mean for the fragmentation of our entire AI ecosystem. Why this matters most right now is simple. Formal AI adoption at impact levels 6 to 7 establishes a durable, high stakes market that's going to shape development for years to come. More critically, it underscores that vendor selection, who you build with, whose models you use, now carries significant geopolitical weight. The US military isn't just picking tech, it's picking partners, and that has ripple effects across the industry. For some background context, before this, we saw a lot of pilot programs and research initiatives for AI within the DoD. They were exploring, but this is different. This is a multi-vendor agreement for classified networks, signaling a serious commitment to integrating advanced AI into core operations. And the fact that Anthropic, a major player, was explicitly excluded from this list. That's not just a technical decision, it's a strategic one. It tells us there are bigger games being played here than just who has the best benchmark scores. When we talk about strategic implications, let's break it down by who should care. If you're a case startup pursuing government work, you absolutely must align with these approved vendors. It's no longer optional, it's a gatekeeper for market access. For baghdad infrastructure providers, companies like Nvidia, Microsoft, AWS, Google, they're seeing a guaranteed massive demand for compute and specialized services for years to come. That's a huge windfall. And for application layer teams, those of you building specific AI products on top of these foundational models, you now have a clearer procurement path into this high value federal market, provided you can meet these stringent compliance baselines. This isn't just about having a great product, it's about having a product built on the right stack with the right security and auditability. How would I think about this as a builder? I'd consider this a clear signal that the AI ecosystem is bifurcating. There's the open, consumer facing, broadly accessible AI world, and then there's this emerging, highly secure, government vetted, and geopolitically sensitive AI world. You can't necessarily play in both without some very serious architectural and compliance considerations. This means that if you're building an application, you have to think about data residency, about sovereignty, about who owns the foundational models you're using, and about their supply chain. It's not just about can this model do X, it's about can this model do X in a way that meets impact level 6 requirements and comes from an approved vendor. That's a fundamentally different lens. My Nebius take on this is that this isn't hype, this is reality setting in. The idea of a single unified AI future is fading, at least for now. We're going to have distinct walled off and heavily regulated AI environments. As builders, you've got to decide which game you're playing, or if you're ambitious enough to tackle both, you'll need explicit strategies for each. This isn't just about technology anymore, it's about trust, national security, and global power dynamics. And those things directly impact your product's market and your company's future. If you're finding this useful, hit follow in your podcast app right now. It takes 2 seconds and it's the best way to make sure you don't miss the next briefing. Now, if you want one practical takeaway from today's episode, here it is. Audit your platform dependencies for geopolitical risk. Today, This isn't a theoretical exercise, it's becoming a critical business necessity. Here's how to try it in under 60 minutes. First, block out about 30 minutes. Your initial step is to simply map out all the critical AI models and APIs your product currently relies on. List them. For each one, identify the vendor or underlying platform. Is it OpenAI, Google, AWS, Azure? Is it running on a specific cloud provider? Just get it all down. Second, for each of those dependencies, explicitly note whether that vendor or platform aligns with the list of approved entities for sensitive government or critical infrastructure work, like those mentioned in the Pentagon contracts. And importantly, also note any major players like Anthropic that were excluded. It's a simple check, are they in or are they out? Finally, spend the remaining 15 minutes sketching out a basic migration path or a contingency plan if a key dependency were to become a strategic liability. What if your primary model provider was suddenly deemed unsuitable for a certain type of client or region? What would that mean for your product roadmap? What would a potential switch look like? This isn't about panic, it's about building resilience and foresight into your product strategy. Why is this specific experiment worth your time right now? Because understanding your exposure to this geopolitical fragmentation of the AI ecosystem isn't just about risk mitigation, it's also about identifying new opportunities. If you build your product with this kind of resilience and compliance in mind from the start, you might just unlock entirely new high value markets like the federal space or other heavily regulated industries that your competitors aren't even equipped to touch. It's about being proactive, not reactive. That's it for today's Nebius AI briefing. If this helped, follow the show in your podcast app and share it with one builder you know. And if you've got questions or topics you want covered, connect with me on LinkedIn and send them over. See you in the next briefing.